And now we're going to be talking about the verification procedures for floors. So when it comes to floors and air sealing, subfloor sheathing is glued or sealed to all exterior panel edges to create a continuous airtight subfloor. In order to avoid compression, voids, and gaps, batt and blanket insulation shall be correctly sized to fit snugly at the sides and ends, just like we did everywhere else. Batt and blanket insulation shall be cut to fit properly without gaps. Insulation shall not be doubled over or compressed. Loose fill insulation shall completely fill around wiring and plumbing, just like everywhere else, and then loose fill insulation shall be properly supported where necessary to avoid sagging, gaps, voids, or compression. Insulation shall be in contact with the air barrier, which is usually the subfloor. Hangers and support. Hangers must be spaced at 18 inches or less and cannot compress the insulation. Netting or mesh can be used if the cavity is filled and in contact with the subfloor. So in the top picture, you can see the hangers that we're talking about, and then the bottom is a good example of a net installation that's holding up the insulation in the subfloor. For crawl space and basement access, if access to the crawl space or basement is from the conditioned area of the house, the access has to be airtight and insulated to the same value as the floor. For cantilevers, airtight blocking is installed between joists where the wall rim joist would have been located in the absence of a cantilever. Exterior sheathing is installed at the bottom so that there is a continuous air and weather barrier for the cantilever. The cantilever joist must be insulated to the same R value as the subfloor prior to closing. Canalites in the cantilever are IC and AT rated and properly sealed to the sheathing. Now, we talked about cantilevers in the Title 24 overview section, so if you remember correctly, a cantilever is an extension of the conditioned space of the house that extends out, generally speaking, on a second floor, and it extends out beyond the bottom lived-in area. So basically, you could have a second story that extends out furthest out than the actual first floor, causing a bump out, meaning that the floor of that particular extension is going to be open to the exterior. So therefore, that particular portion of the floor has to be insulated because that is the exterior of the conditioned space. SIPs and ICFs. SIPs air barriers shall be maintained through use of SIP tape or sealing or caulking between panels and all spline joints. The outer and interface and all joints of the ICF air barrier shall be maintained through the use of tape or sealing and caulking as needed. So again, all seams and joints when using SIPs and ICF have to be sealed in order to maintain a continuous air barrier like we talked about earlier. Homes with floors over garage. On floors that are over garages or where there is an airspace between the insulation and the subfloor, the rim joist shall be insulated. And you can see in the picture right there, you can see the highlight. That is the rim joist of the wall, and that is being insulated. The garage and adjacent conditioned space, which is the house, shall be insulated up to the subfloor. All rim and band joists adjoining conditioned space shall be airtight and insulated. And you can see that's what exactly the guy is doing in the picture, is insulating all the rim joists, is insulating him and air sealing him properly so there is not going to be any air movement from one side to the other. For homes with no conditioned space over the garage, the band joist where the garage transition to an attic above conditioned space shall have an air barrier installed in contact with the edge of the attic insulation. And this is an example of subfloor insulation. Obviously, you can barely see them, but the hangers are there pushing the insulation against the subfloor itself. Minimal compression, and basically the insulation is in full contact with the actual subfloor of the house. This is a bad example. Obviously, you can see a bunch of gaps. It's compressed, running over wires, so that would be a no-go. This is a great example of subfloor installation. It looks like it's being installed in a basement of some type, but nonetheless, it's completely even and well installed throughout the subfloor. This is an example of where a rim or band joist is not being insulated. So you can see that the actual subfloor installation was pulled down. Not only the rim joist is not sealed, it's not even insulated at all. So that would be a fail. This is the same scenario, but now in this particular case, the band joist is in fact sealed and insulated. Battled way around. Obviously, all kinds of compression, all kinds of gaps, no sealing on the rim joists, wires running everywhere, insulation not being delaminated. I mean, this is just everything that could go wrong is going wrong in this installation. That would be a complete failure.